Good morning to you, everyone. You are welcome to the Thursday's edition of the program Press Brief. This fine Thursday morning of the 18th of January 2024. For presentation, I am Etegning Larry Kevin Tabot. The program on air is Press Brief. We'll be back to give you what the papers are saying, and on the second part of the program, we'll be having a reviewer here with us. Stay tuned. Hey there, viewers, you are welcome back. If you are joining us, you are on to Press Brief. On this program, the newspapers always come first. We'll start off with municipal updates for this first part of the program. Municipal update says boosting healthcare in Southwest Northwest region. US NGO, the Friendship Circle, offers modern beds to hospitals. Get to read that story on the English tabloid of Victor Bame Cham for today. A new launches nationwide campaign to upgrade prepaid meters. You can find that story on that publication for today. Douala City Council engages 300 women leaders to step up hygiene and ahead of future elections. Warning UPC factions battle to reconcile the oldest political party in Cameroon. That's the Union de Population du Cameroon. We'll move away from that story of the publisher of the Median for this day, and we take you to health tips by consultant cardiologist Dr. Fred Perry Kema. You can find more health tips on cardiology there. And let's take you to running battle with government. 3 major teachers union join forces to press for special status of teachers. You can find that story on page 2 on the Median for this day. From the Median, we crossed over to Cameroon Tribune. Cameroon Tribune for this day talks of Cameroon-China. It says a sincere friendship as the Chinese Prime Minister was receiving audience yesterday at the Etuli Palace by President Paul Biya. Moving over to suspected killers apprehended. You can find the human interest story on that said paper for today. AFCON 2023 in Ivory Coast, second day with high stakes as the ongoing African Cup of Nations is unfolding in the West African nation of Ivory Coast. We move over to Le Messager for this morning. Le Messager comes back to the Martinez Zogo affair. It says, who profits from the killing of slain journalist Martinez Zogo? You can find that story on the publication of late Pius Nchawi of Le Messager. Dimako, a locality in the littoral region, talks on some developer who are in that part of the littoral region. And we move over to this locality known as Bandisina. It talks of the specs of plants. Get to read that story on that set publication for this day. Quotidien Eco Santé for today reports on about medical analysis. It talks of the International Laboratory of Yaoundé. That is a reference point of quality healthcare services to many. You can find that story on that set paper. The Association of Pharmacists in Cameroon will be having their general elections slated for the 23rd and 24th of February 2024, as reported to us by Quotidien Eco Santé for this morning. We'll move away from the hot newspaper of Quotidien Eco Santé to the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post of Christian Gasses. The Guardian Post creates column to denounce marginalization of Anglophones in Cameroon. Get to read that story on that set paper for today. Fight against protracted absenteeism. No nonsense. Minister Nalova Lyonga suspends salaries of 2,326 teachers in the secondary school sector. You can find that story on that set paper. Cameroon's interim minister of Mines and Technology, Kalitus Gentry, on a mission to make sure the extractive industry is is on the right map. And still in that said paper, Camtel General Manager announces imminent creation of digital parks Telepol. Get to read that story on that said paper for today. The Nation from Nigeria reports on Ibadan explosion, 3 dead, 77 injured, 58 houses damaged. And in that said paper, Central Bank of Nigeria to crack down on forex violators. And we'll move over to this other story that reports on Jimo Ibrahim rally support in Davos for Tinubu's policy in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Crowdfunding for ransom payment will worsen the kidnapping in Nigeria, says federal government. Get to read more on that publication for this day. We take you to Informaten for today. Informaten talks of the inclusiveness of resilient towns and cities in Cameroon. Citizen Kecha Cortez announces the end of the project by the 31st of March, as she was received in the city of Douala yesterday by the various contractors and officials of the littoral region. Away from that Informaten newspaper, we crossed over to La Nouvelle Expression of Severin Chonko. La Nouvelle Expression for this day says it's already 1 year after his abduction and subsequent killing of journalist Martinez Zogo and station manager of Amplitude FM in Yaoundé. Crossing over to cardiac arrest, the paper reports on some preventive measures that Benin needs to do in order to prevent cardiac arrest. You can find that story on that said paper. The Cameroon's Indomitable Lions in Ivory Coast, the paper gives a dissect on what the future holds for them after they failed to secure a 3-point in the victory over the Guinea Conakry team in Yamoussoukro. We'll move away from that publication to the Express. The Express for today talks of from Fuka Council, NUDP vows to oust CPDM party in that locality, and Jean-Baptiste Bocam goes to the other side. You can find that story on that said publication for today. Away from that story, we crossed over to this other story that talks of the national president calls on Paul Biya to unite and reconcile Cameroonian. That's the National Reconciliation Movement. You want to find that story on the pages of that paper on that paper for today. So away from that paper of the Express, let's take you now to the next publication. That is the Post. The publication of late Francis Wache for this morning have as lead story. The paper of the Post have as lead story for today. It talks of Biya orders government to step up to CFA France 22 billion in the southwest region after a high man delegation from the Ministry of Finance from Yaoundé was in the region to unveil the 2024 state budget for the southwest. Government suspend application of law on salary cuts. You want to find our story on that on page 6. Let's move over to the next paper for today. That is the Horizon. The Horizon for today talks of voter registration. Nincho accuses Elekam of plot to favor Biya. Import substitution policy stands tall in 2024 fiscal year, according to the Minister of Finance, Louis Paul Motaze, as he was speaking some days ago in the town of Marwa in the Far North region. We move over to this other story that talks of search for Professor T's replacement threatens to rip the CBC apart. Let's take you to a Code du Parlement, the newspaper from the National Parliament that talks of obituary. Jibril, Speaker of the National Assembly, announces the death of Honorable Mamadou Ali. Get to read details on page 2. And the retrospect of the November session of Parliament. The paper reports on the 5 priority program of the Ministry of State Properties and Land. Tribune for this morning reports on Camtel General Manager Judith Yason de Achidi underscores telecoms contributions to economic growth. Get to read the story on page 4. Jean-Baptiste Bocam forever at 73. You can find more on that former statesman who bows out. United Bank for Africa (UBA) demonstrates continental might again. You can find that story of UBA of Tony Olimelu on the pages of that paper for this day. Le Flambeur for today talks of Professor Mabuda Abdullahimani, who talks of the right of the ballot box. You want to find that story on that paper for today. Cameroon's Indomitable Lions coach Rigobert's son's destiny is playing with his destiny. You can find that story on Le Flambeur newspaper for today. In also Le Flambeur newspaper, bishops of the country Cameroon have just ended their National Episcopal Conference in the town of Maroua in the far north region of Cameroon, as they say no to poverty, hardship, homosexuality, and terrorism across Cameroon. You want to find that story for today on that paper for this morning. We move over to the next paper for today. We move over to the next paper for today. That is the punch for today. The Punch from Lagos reports on the Ibadan explosion. Residents blame Malian illegal miners as federal government props blast. In that said publication, reports on abduction. Federal government faults Nigerian crowdfunding to pay ransom of kidnappees by kidnappers. You can find that story on that said paper. Ondo Amokodo arrests over 19 kidnappers and 17 others. Get to read more on that paper. Moving over to the sports newspaper for today, that is Sports Extra for today. Talks of Morocco triumph over Tanzania in a 3-0 victory over there in Ivory Coast. Victor Osimhen, Napoli's wonder boy, a Nigerian born, talks of his desire to join the English Premier League. You can get to read details on that sports paper for today. Nigeria versus Ivory Coast. The paper talks of Pastors Pizarro banks on God. And we'll move over to Yusuf rule out of clash between the Super Eagles and the Elephants of Ivory Coast. We take you to this other story that reports on Oban joins Lyon for the sum of 13 million euros. You can find that story on that said paper for this morning. Viewers, we will be taking you now to the next publication we are having. The next paper we are having for this morning, we take you to the last paper, if I think so. That is Informatin, who reports on Celestin Kecha Cortez, who announces the end of the project of resilience and inclusive towns and cities in the country, slated for the 31st of March 2024. With that paper, this is where we put a stop on this first part of the program. But do not move a muscle. We are here with our reviewer for today that will be joining us in no distant time, immediately after this. Once again, you are heartily welcome on board the program. If you are just joining us, you are on to Press Brief, and this is the second part of the program reserved for our reviewer. Our reviewer for this morning is the publisher of the Volcanic Times, one of the leading English language newspapers in the nation, that is from Buea. That is Charles Skoni Mbola. Good morning to you, Charles, and you're welcome.
Good morning, Eteng, and good morning to all the viewers of High TV here in Buea. It's a pleasure to be in the studio once again.
I can imagine you are heartily welcome once again. So we kickstart this second part of the program with the median. The median of Stephen Ojong talks of government action, 5 years of John Guterres. What balance sheets? That's the big question Stephen Ojong is asking on his paper for today.
Yes, I think it is one which I can say 50-50 so far, because the coming of Prime Minister PM John Guterres has helped, especially in killing some of the violence that took place in the northwest and southwest region. I think he had that as primary mission to help talk to his brothers and sisters, and I think so far he's achieved a whole lot in terms of accomplishing this mission that was assigned him by the President of the Republic. Besides that, he's not had it all rosy, especially with recalcitrant collaborators, and so on and so forth. You know, for instance, we have his collaborators, some of whom are reported to be involved in the recent Martinez Zogo case that occurred on the 22nd of January 2023 out there in Yaoundé, in the neighborhood of Ebogo. And you also know that some of the ministers that used to work under him have come under public scrutiny. I think Prime Minister Joseph John Guterres has had tough times in terms of working with the Minister of Public Works, because the road network in the country, as we all know, over time, we experienced the past 5 years or 10 years or so have been the worst we've had in this country. And you can also put that under his government, because he is the minister in charge of the government and controls government action. Yes, so therefore I think that's one of the negativity we have in that aspect. But there's also this aspect of health. You know, people don't know, especially in terms of categorization of hospitals. There has been a lot of investment in terms of the improvement of hospitals, especially what the Frenchman would call plateau technique.
Referral hospitals.
The referral hospitals have come up in a good number. Unfortunately, in the northwest and southwest, we've not had like the one that was being constructed around the central market here in Buea. That has not been done properly. It has been an abandoned project. Hopefully this year they can go back and revisit that project and ensure that the project is completed. So these are just some of the things that really I must say that the Prime Minister has been able to achieve and probably failed to accomplish in his mandate so far.
Okay, away from the Prime Minister, we take a stop over with Luju. Luju of Haman Manor for today talks of education. Teachers, absentee teachers will have their salaries suspended by the Minister of Secondary Education, Naloba Lyunga, who actually have highlighted some of these absentee teachers.
Yes, you see, the absentee teachers, I hear every day in the streets of Cameroon, I hear people talking about the government being so relaxed about ghost workers, especially about those who abandon their jobs as well. And we notice that so many people abandon their jobs and don't return to it, especially those who claim to go for greener pastures. Whatever greener pastures means is left to some individuals to define, because it does not
travel abroad.
Yes, that's what some people consider greener pastures. But some of us have decided to stay back home and achieve our goals. And gradually we are getting there. That's also greener pastures back home. Just depends on your determination. And you cannot be a government salaried teacher. You go to school maybe twice or thrice a week maximum, and you are on 280, 300,000 francs monthly salary, and then you abandon, and then somebody stays behind, maybe your most senior collaborator in the school, who is probably the principal, and he's there to cover your tracks, and you know, make sure their salary goes through. I mean, depleting the state of meaningful resources. These are some of the things that have affected the country. It is not only about the corruption at the level of government officials, but also at the level of teachers. The same teachers who are clamoring for for better working conditions. I must say that teachers are among the best, the most paid in this country, if not the most paid.
Really?
Yeah, in this
because
country.
The teachers have been crying foul. They say they are the least paid in the country as compared to their counterparts. We are talking of the defense and security forces.
No, it is not. It is not true.
According to them,
the military is different because the military has to deal with allowances, risk allowances. You know, these guys go on the battlefield and face bullets every day. The teachers don't face those things. Let's be honest.
With this this kind of funny children that we are raising today, where teachers are being attacked and stabbed.
That's completely another topic. What you're raising right now, but here we are talking about teachers who go to school maximum twice or thrice a day or a week, and come back at the end of the month and at least 280,000, and some of them earn close to 350,000. That's so much money. Imagine you are here, you need a job, and you can't get a job. A teacher abandons and flies to Europe or America, and then is still collecting money from the state coffers. That's very, very poor. And I think the measures taken by the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Naloa Lyonga, is really, really laudable. We need to have ministers who can stamp their feet and ensure that they curb some of these malpractices that actually rob the state of some, mighty resources that can be diverted or sent elsewhere for the improvement or betterment of the nation.
All right. Away from the teacher's saga, we take you to La Nouvelle Expression of Severin Chonko. La Nouvelle Expression for today says it's already 1 year after his abduction, and later on his body being found along the Ebogo Soa Road in the central region. We are talking on Slaying Chunlis Martinez Zogo and station manager of Amplitude FM in Yaoundé.
I can't say much.
Okay.
I can't really say much on this, but it's very, very sad. Martinez Zogo died in horrible circumstances. He was tortured and murdered. That there is almost no justification you can give for such a barbaric act. Yes, he was a very vocal colleague we had out there in Yaoundé, but then you have to understand that there are consequences to what we say on air.
Definitely.
And what we do, behind the scenes. There are always consequences of our actions. I really feel sorry that till this moment his remains have not been buried because the court case is dragging. There's been one scandal to the other.
Yeah.
I mean, a series of scandals that has marred the investigation process and has kept a few individuals behind bars, including the intelligence chief of the country. And when you have an intelligence chief of the country like Lieutenant Colonel Danwe, who is behind bars out there in Kondengi, and his friend of Jean-Pierre Mugu Belinga, you begin to wonder how the mighty can crush those down there who are probably below their feet. And that is where you remember the president's end of year speech touched on the justice system, and where he emphasized so that along the line justice can be rendered.
All right. Away from that sad one on Martinez Zogo demise killing 1 year on, we take you to AFCON 2023 in Ivory Coast. It says the journey of Gando Piquet, that is one of the supporters of the Indomitable Lions who could not afford flight tickets to Ivory Coast, who went to the West African nation of Ivory Coast via the road. So the paper of Severin for today gives how the intricacies on how Gando Piquet traveled from Cameroon to Nigeria to Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. That is it.
A man in his 70s traveling under such conditions tells you the passion he has for football and for the Indomitable Lions in particular, because he's always made sure he travels with that team and gives the moral support that they always desire. Because mind you, I've read several comments, especially on social media, where people criticize his move, saying he wasn't supposed to call out the Cameroon Football Federation. And I asked myself, why not? The Cameroon Football Federation has traveled with over 120 different persons who are not even directly linked to the technical management of the team.